Nyck de Vries has been one of the biggest disappointments in 2023, especially after his Hot One show in Monza last year, where he took over Latifi's seat. But right now, we're seeing that he's not delivering the results that everybody expected him to, which effectively means that his seat is in danger. Something that the latest statement by Helmut Marko and Christian Horner only went on to approve even further. With Ricciardo testing soon for RedBull in Silverstone, is this the final straw for the 26-year-old who might have missed the train for his F1 career? Nyck de Vries has managed to impress everyone with his performance in Monza last year, when he spent only 1 hour meeting with the Williams car and finished P9, gathering a much valuable 2 points for the team. Considering that Williams was definitely the worst team on the grid and Latifi was already severely underperforming in his third year with the team, it only went to show that the right driver, such as Albon was, the potential in de Vries and Williams is definitely something that needs to be exploited further. This was the main reason why RedBull decided to sign de Vries as the driver in AlphaTauri, right next to Yuki Tsunoda, as the main ultimatum to let Gasly go in Alpine was to find a proper replacement for him. While the initial signing was supposed to be Colton Herta, him not getting the exception from the FIA for the super license has made the Austrian squad think in another direction, signing the talented Dutchman. However, right now, we're seeing that he's experiencing a massive slump in his performance, and we can't even call it a slump because he was never good with AlphaTauri in the first place either. Yuki Tsunoda has constantly finished at the brink of points, with P11 being his most frequent result, while de Vries' crashes in Australia and Baku have made himself question the decisions he made throughout the race and the mistakes it prompted, calling them amateurish. This didn't sit well with Helmut Marko either, who went on to say that right now, Nyck de Vries has the yellow card in the team, and if he fails to perform in the first half of the season, then RedBull will pull their impatience card and will definitely think of a replacement. Truth be told, AlphaTauri is not in the desired place they wanted to be before the beginning of the season, but as we already know from Tsunoda's performance, the car can be brought to the right place with a bit of effort. It's not the underperformance of de Vries that hurts the F1 fans as much as his mistakes, and the latest one in Montreal made underbraking and trying to pass Magnussen, forcing both of them off the track, goes to show that he still has a lot to learn in the sport. But in a ruthless environment where F1 drivers are not given as much time as they would want to accommodate to the new conditions, and especially Red Bull, a team we saw how it treated two of its youngest talents in Albon and Gasly once they got the opportunity to drive for the senior team, the future for de Vries is not a bright one, that's for certain. That has been confirmed by Marko's latest statement as well, and when talking about de Vries' situation, it was obvious that he and Christian Horner had their disagreement over the signing of Nyck de Vries. According to the team principal, he was not good enough for AlphaTauri, and he was not sold on his one-race show performance in Monza, as Marko went on to add. The team management and the team principal, it's a common decision. Not often do I disagree with Horner, but sometimes we do. The last one, I would say, is Nyck de Vries, and at the moment it looks like Horner was right. He was not a fan of Nyck de Vries. It was Franz Tost who wanted Mick Schumacher, but Mick was with Ferrari Academy for his whole career. Basically, AlphaTauri is a junior team. De Vries is different to Schumacher in that he had just one race, very successful in Monza, so he could fit in our philosophy. One thing that remains very evident right now is that de Vries could be replaced as soon as this upcoming weekend, and the patience inside the team has reached point zero. It's not that they're expecting him to perform strongly and score points right away in a dysfunctional car, one that has been called out by its team principal for its distrust in the engineers, but the constant mistakes and his lack of confidence is costing RedBull very much. Right now, there could be another driver from the academy, such as Liam Lawson, mastering the craft of driving an F1 car and potentially replacing Perez once the Mexican's time is up. And while this would be the perfect road for Red Bull, as they're known to go down the road of signing young talents and then developing them into future champions, it could well be the other way around this time. Daniel Ricciardo will be tested out by Red Bull in a Pirelli tyre test at the Silverstone GP, and if he proves to be the right fit for the team and shows them that the 2 years in McLaren and the current year off are not taking a toll on his performance, then rest assured he'd be the primary candidate to take the seat in the AlphaTauri. This could be done out of two logical reasons. The first one would be bringing back the team in the constant points finishes and raise the value of the team. Right now, constant talks are revolving around selling them to a potential buyer, and considering how hard it is to enter the sport as a brand new team and not buying out an already existing squad, could be the perfect business idea from many potential investors, Andretti and Calvin Lowe included. But if AlphaTauri continues with the current squad, who doesn't seem to be capable of scoring points that frequently, then rest assured the marketing and the price of the team would reach an all-time low. Contrary to that, if Ricciardo manages to score frequent points with the dysfunctional car, it's safe to say that the team would be brought in a much better place, and they'd definitely be considered as a strong asset for the future, maybe not even up for sale, which would be the best scenario for them after all. And the second reason would be replacing Perez with Ricciardo in Red Bull from 2025 onwards. While it's a pity to say it directly, Red Bull are not too fond of Perez, and they're tired of his claims to have a championship-winning car in his hands, only for him to go and drop the ball in the remainder of the season and finish 100+ points behind Verstappen. While this is presenting Red Bull with a bit of calmness and security that their golden boy won't be attacked in the championship, it's definitely putting the team in danger once the budget cap penalty starts hitting the team in terms of development, and it's leaving Verstappen out there on the dry. Furthermore, Ricciardo has expressed his never-ending wish to race in Formula One yet again, and although the initial plan was for him to sign a contract with a top-performing team such as Red Bull or Mercedes, he's now acknowledged there might be an alternative road for him to come back, which would include a role in AlphaTauri. Considering how hungry he is to prove that he's still got it in himself, I can definitely see him replacing de Vries for the second half of the season. And if the bad performance continues in the upcoming races, then Red Bull might pull the same card they did to Gasly in Red Bull, try the new driver for 13 races or so, and then make sure to not support him for the upcoming future and replace him with the first viable option. When talking about Ricciardo's future in Formula One with Red Bull, Helmut Marko went on to say, "First of all, Checo is still second in the championship, so the first goal is to defend his position, and I'm sure if he focuses on just achieving that, he'll be a good driver for Red Bull Racing. With Ricciardo, we have a test in Silverstone, and from there we'll see where he's standing. We have a contract with Checo which goes to the end of 24, and of course we have to think what will happen after that, but if Ricciardo recovers, if it is the old Ricciardo which we knew, he was a very competitive driver." At this point, one couldn't help but feel a bit of excitement for Ricciardo, but him replacing Perez might be a solution that will definitely raise a question or two whether Red Bull are treating its drivers the way they should. Regardless, if the driver in question is de Vries or Perez, the treatment that they're currently receiving is one that's getting massive backlash from the Formula One world. And this in itself might be enough of a reason for Red Bull to think in another, more popular direction. But from the underperformance of both de Vries and Perez, Red Bull might be forced to do a move that would see the return of the Honey Badger, one that would leave some Mexican and Dutch fans a bit angry.